Hello, my name is Mushiri Nyaga. Today I'll be taking you through computer networks. The objective of this talk or session or a lecture, as much as you want to talk about it, it's basically understanding different types of network and the definition and different infrastructures that are used in computer networks. So we can start by defining what's a network. A network is a system containing any combination of computers, computer terminals, printers, audio or visual displays, devices, or telephone interconnected by telecommunication equipment or cables, and used to transmit or receive information. To summarize, or just to give a simple definition of a computer network, a network is basically two or more computers connected through a cable or a wire or a space which share resources. Remember, we have the space. When you talk about the space, is basically when you talk about any wireless connection. What you should keep in mind is that you can continually add common components to this network. By saying that is we're saying a network basically can be expanded to feed the needs of a specific area or type of users. This is a simple illustration of a network. When you talk about a network, it's just different computer or electronic devices that are connected together. Like for our case here, we can see we have a computer that is connected to a printer, and then we have a laptop that is still connected on the network. They can share resources. We have a switch, and also we have a server on this other side. On this network, we can see fiber optic cable, which is the medium of communication, is still there. A firewall is on the other side, preventing any unauthorized access to the network. And you can see we have internet and other LANs. On this other area, we can see the space where we have a wireless router, and we have the wireless connection, and we have also tablets on this other side. So we have different types of networks. But before we proceed to different types of networks, we want to understand reasons why we use network. First reason for networking or having computer network, you should take note of this. It's sharing of technology resources. And when we talk about these resources, we're talking about printers, right? Systems, etc. A second reason why we have networking, it's sharing of data. Data, when you talk about data, these are raw facts and figures. And this enables virtual teams to share and transmit data efficiently. Giving an example, you can imagine two different companies that are apart from each other. They basically share information via the internet, and that internet can't work when there is no network devices. Let's go to the next reason. The next reason for networking is to have distributed data. When you talk about distributed data or data systems, this brings us to something called a client server system. And when you talk about a client server, a system must be installed on a server. And whenever a person or a client queries a server, queries something on a server, that's they access information that is distributed. An example, we can say Google. We can talk about Google as an example of a distributed system. In case a student is based maybe in Kenya and they're querying a server that is somewhere on the cloud, the server is not basically in Kenya, it's somewhere on the cloud, maybe in another country. So networking facilitates distributed system. The last reason why networking is important is for marketing outreach. For those guys who are taking marketing or business related courses, you understand that marketing is a very key element of any organization. So networking is very important for networking because we've seen an example, YouTube using the Google ads and the video streams and the videos add-on to do the marketing. So we can also discuss about we have different types of we have types of network. There are many types of network depending on the client or depending on the organization what exactly they want. The first one is a local area network. A second one is a wide area network. We have a wireless local area network, which is slightly related to the local area network and the wide area network. We have the personal area network. We have storage area network. We have global area network. We have the metropolitan area network. We have the control area network. We have the desktop area network, and we have a virtual private network. For our case here, we have an illustration of the five major types of networks, and when we discuss about the five major types of network, we have the first one, which is very common in most organizations. You'll find it. It's called the local area network. The local area network, as you can see, the cloud represent right. I would say this is a network that is within a building. It's within a building and serves an organization within a span of 10 kilometers maximum, and it is a private local area. It's privately owned. The next one is personal area network. Sometimes when you're connecting to your laptop via your phone, they're just within a few meters away. That's called a personal area network. Another very common, and people don't realize that it's a personal area network, it is when you're using your remote control, switching on or controlling your television. That's an example of a local area network. Another one is a wide area network, and we have the control area network. We have the metropolitan area network. You can see we have the distinction depending on how they fall into place. The first one is the local area network. As you've seen it, it's privately owned. It covers a small geographic distance. It is easy to work on. It mostly uses coaxial cables, but these days it goes to twisted pair cables and the fiber optic cables. Though the fiber optic cables are slightly expensive, the bandwidth that they submit is slightly lower compared to other kind of network because it is mostly used for a workstation setup. The data rates are high. On the other side, a wide area network, it's mostly private, or it's private stroke public, because you have to use a third party for you to access the other organization. The geographic area covers a very large depending with an organization, a very large geographical area. It's not easy because you require a third-party configuration for the public IP, but we don't want to go into detail because this is basically an introduction to to a computer network. So we don't want just to go in detail on the public IP and the IP to the private IPs. The other thing is the wide area network uses the satellite links, and the bandwidth is slightly high. It has data. The speed is a bit slightly lower. The metropolitan covers a city or a large geographical area. It's both private or public, and it covers a moderate, mostly a town or a city. It's not easy to design because you have to get various approvals, and also configuration is a bit of a hectic. It's a slightly hectic. On the metropolitan, mostly it uses the coaxial, the PSTN, the optical fiber cables, and the wireless. The bandwidth is moderate, and the data speeds are moderate. Um, Network classification. The network classification, like an example, on a local area network, we have two major types of how you can classify a network. We have the first one is peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer, it's when you connect two devices directly, and or straight on. You don't need to use another device to connect it. For you to understand it better, I will be sending you some notes on that. Another on the client server, it's where you have someone querying a service from the server, and it's mostly secured. So let's go to the next slide. This basically, you can see like server based. This is the server, and these are the client who are requesting any services. An example: imagine you are the student, you're requesting a service from a server. You just log in, and it verifies whether you're the one. It gives back the information and all that as we move on, right? The next one is P2P. P2P, you can see this is an example of a P2P. It's slightly complicated and very expensive because a device is directly connected to a computer. You can see like a case of this. This computer is connected to this computer. This computer is connected to the same computer, and this computer is connected to the same computer. Compared to the server based, this is slightly expensive because you need to use a lot of cables just to do a very simple task to connect. So this is an illustration of a peer-to-peer. In a peer-to-peer network, each computer is responsible for making its own resources available to the other network, right? That means that a computer must always must make sure that it's responsible, and then the resources are available at any given time. Each computer is responsible for setting up and maintaining its own security for these reasons. So the security to peer-to-peer, this is my opinion, it's slightly compromised compared to the client server. Because in the server, once you secure the server, it doesn't matter about the who accesses. The person accessing the network must be authorized. But according to, we'll be discussing about authentication, authorization, and other terms that are also on peer-to-peer. Each computer is responsible for accessing the required network resources from the peer-to-peer relationship. So you remember that all through the network from another peer should be always be available. All right, peer-to-peer is always useful for for networking, mostly containing less than, actually not 10, actually it's 10, like less than 10 computers. In peer-to-peer network, in peer-to-peer network, each computer can function as both the client and the server. So when you mean by a client server, when you're requesting a resource from another computer, you become the client. But when another computer is requesting your resource, it automatically you become a server. So don't be confused. Either in the peer-to-peer, a computer can either be a client or a server. But you have to just realize that you cannot be a client at the same time as a server, but you use interchangeably depending on the resources that is required. So with that, you can check on the other factors. Let's move on to the advantages and disadvantages of peer-to-peer. The first advantage is use less. It's less expensive hardware. Only the hardware. Take note, not the network. Less expensive computer hardware, because you don't need a server, you don't need routers, you don't need switches. But remember, sometimes it can't when it exceeds the number of the computers, that in case the workload, the work group becomes so big, it becomes a bit it becomes a bit expensive. So it's easy to administer, because every computer is responsible for its own security, and more built redundancy. What you mean by redundancy, there's always a backup in each computer. So in case one computer is compromised, you always have a backup of the other. So not everything. Remember, we are comparing this with the client server network. In case the server is compromised, then all of in the network, you're all compromised. Let's continue. The disadvantages, on the other hand, it's not very secure. No central point of storage or file archiving, additional load on computer because of the resources sharing, and hard to maintain the versions control. So remember, in a peer-to-peer network, you have to agree that you're on a specific standard or version of everything you do, so that everything can be compatible. So on the other hand, let's move on to the client server, which is very common. In client server network, relationship of certain computers act as the server and act as the client. A server, for those people who don't know what's a server is simply a computer that is available. A server is simply a computer that is available for the network resources and provides service to other computers when requested it. Right? So it is a computer within a network that has resources, and when it is requested by other computers, it is able to avail their resources. Right? So in a nutshell, we have different types of servers, but remember, for our case, we can use like a file storage server. When you request something, maybe you want to log into a student portal, you query, you as the student, you're the client, so you query on a server that you want to log in. So you try logging in, it goes and queries and confirms that you're the right person. In case you put the wrong credentials, it brings back a feedback saying that you are not the you're not the you're not the person who is supposed to log in. On the other side, on the other hand, a client is the computer running a program that requests the service from a server. So whenever you request a service from a server, you become automatically the client. That's why it's called a client server network, because we have to have someone like the client, and we have to have the other side, the server. So whenever you commonly you call it Googling, whenever you Google something, you are the client and you're creating a server that is owned by Google. You become the client server, right? So a local area network is based on a client server network relationship most of the cases, and the client server network is one on which all available network resources such as a file, directories, application, and shared devices are centrally managed and hosted, then are accessed by the client. Client by a client. Remember, in a local area network, it's either you accessing a printer, you want to access maybe a file stored somewhere. That becomes that is basically a client server network. So you can see, you can check that statement and refer it on your notes. Client server network are defined by presence of servers on a network that provide security administration of the network. So servers provide security because we have different ways of securing a server. So let's move on. Advantages of a client server network. The first advantage is they're very secure. The second, better performance compared to the peer-to-peer. Then we have a centralized backup. And then we have a very reliable. Remember, servers are very secure. On the other side, we have the advantages, or demerits or disadvantages. It requires professional administration. Remember, client server, you have to have an operating system working behind the scene. When you talk about an operating system, it's instruction that manages the servers and also the security bit of the network. The other work is more hardware intensive. On the client server, it requires, or it is more hardware intensive and specialized management. And then on the other side also, it's software intensive and very expensive dedicated software, because you have to have server operating system which requires professional to run them. Types of servers, these are just a bit basic. We have the file servers, we have the print servers, we have application server, we have the message server, we have the database servers. For us, because this is just an introduction and you're not focusing on the servers. As we move on, you'll be understanding about these servers, but these are just a highlight of some of the servers that we have. We can just highlight them as we move on. A file server, these servers provide services for storing, retrieving, and moving the data. A user can read, write, exchange, and manage files with the help of the file servers, right? These act more like a storage place for resources in an organization, for that matter. Printer server is used for controlling and managing and printing on the network. It is also offers the fax to the network users. So whenever you want to have a printing resource, you have to have a printer server for easier management, to check who has printed what, or in case there's anything on the queue. We have the application server, the application. The expensive software and additional computing power can be shared by computers in a network with the help of application servers. Remember, when we have a specific application comes from can be said that it's a server that works on a specific task, right? Let's say you are running an application for biometric. You have to have an application server that manages that server. So you have to have an application server that stores that application, right? Let's move on. A message server, it is used to coordinate the interaction between the users, documents, and the application. The data can be used for audio, video, and binary text or graphics. Okay, the last one is called the database server. It is a type of an application server where information is stored. Remember, the database, it's where the information is stored. Application of computer networks. This is very, very important, and you have to understand where is computer network applied. The first thing, which is very common, is sharing of resources, e.g., printers, right? Sharing of expensive softwares and databases, communication from one computer to another, exchange of data and information among users via network, sharing of information, sharing of information over geographical wide areas. So if you look at this, it's a way of cutting costs for an organization or for the users. Let's move on. Components of a network or of a network. What makes a network? What makes a network? Two or more computers, right? Two or more computers. According to the definition, it's when two or more computers are connected together. When you talk about computers, what is a computer? A computer can be any electronic device that allows accept inputs, all right, process, output, and stores information, right? So a phone can be a computer, etc. Okay, another component of a network can be cables. Number two, cables that links the computer. These two computers must be linked together, right? And when you talk about cables, we have the fiber, right? We have so many. And also we need to include another component. It's space, because space is also a media, right? Let's move on to another component. Another component is a network interface card on each computer. Every computer or any device must have a network interface card. These are a device or it's a plugin that should be in every computer that allows a computer to access a network. When you don't have a network interface card and you're connected to a network, you cannot access the network because you have to have the network interface card. These are more like the physical drivers of the computer. The other thing is switches. These are used to connect different types of a network. And also we have software called operating system. And an example, I'm not trying to be biased, we have the Windows Server that is used for that. But these are the components of a network. So in case you're asked about the components of a network, you can highlight these and many more. So let's move on. Network benefits, we already mentioned these. We have two major benefits of network. It's sharing and connectivity. When you talk about sharing, we're talking about hardware and software. A network allows users to share many hardware devices such as printers, modems, fax machines, CD-ROM players, etc., servers, so many things that you have to share. Sometimes you share even the space. When you talk about cloud computing, you are sharing a server with someone, mostly, and it comes with a cost. Another sharing resources is software. Sharing software reduces the cost of installing and saves space. And that comes with an example with the Office 360 where you share network resource. Let's move on. Other benefits of computer network: it's increased speed, cost, improved security, centralized software management, electronic mail, flexible access, etc. The last, which you can see there, very few. Disadvantages of computer networks: we have high cost of installation, requires time for administration, failure of server, and cable faults. You can see all these can be mitigated, but you can see the benefits outweigh the demerits. So we always say networking is good. So we have a point-to-point connection. These where you can have radio links linking different ports depending with where you are. We have also a broadband over power lines where you have connection via the power lines and you can access the network. We have also shared channel network. You can see this is an example of a shared channel. And we have also ad hoc network. Maybe when you have a meeting, you can create an ad hoc network. We have a home working network and all that. We have switching systems, right? This is mostly used for the switchboard, which these days they are now very, very common. And we have routers. These are common arrangement of assimilation of how a network looks like. Routers, these are devices that are used to access the internet or a network. Fiber optics, these cables that are used to connect to a network. And then sometimes we have vehicle ad hoc committee. This in Kenya, guys tried it, but it's not really very common because in Kenya, network is slightly expensive, but you can have an ad hoc network where, in case you're connected, you have a route on your car, or on the move, you'll be connecting to people around you, and this is a very good way of connecting people with the places with very maybe mountainous areas, but with a good road network. We have Internet of Things. These everything in your house is all connected to a network, and you can see it's a very big element. So thank you so much for listening. For more information, kindly, or feedback, you can email me at jaymushiri@gmail.com. Thank you so much.